I would appreciate you subscribing to my channel. So whole ant colony thriving on top of that. Basically an empty frame, and I'm still getting bit by these dang little ants. And I'm not really seeing eggs or larvae. Going through here, I found no resource stores, no honey stored up, no nectar, no pollen. They only have that cap brood to emerge. This colony is in dire straits. They don't have stores to get through winter. This colony will not survive through winter in their current state. This colony next door is seeming to be very strong right now. We're going to get these colonies combined to prepare for winter. So they don't have any honey in here. They don't have pollen for new brood. We will probably end up getting rid of her. When they are not keeping the colony propagated, they just are not a good queen. Watch for the next video as we put these colonies together. So I'm preparing to combine this colony that has no resources stored up, had a queen, but she has not been laying for a while. I'm going to do an inspection on the colony I intend to combine them with, and we'll do a comparison between the two and see how things are going in this colony. Now, they have been much busier at the entrance. I expect they probably are in better shape for going into winter, but I just want to take a look, see how things are going in there. So let's see how they're doing. I already have them opened up. As in comparison to the other colony, which had an ant colony, strong, thriving ant colony on top, this one has no ants on top except those that seem to have straggled over here from the other side. So that's a good sign. I've already found that, like I mentioned previously, my strong colonies tend to have few ants on top. And I think that's probably because the ants aren't very well able to get down in to get to the bees' resources. So they don't have as much, besides having a nice hiding place, they don't have much benefit to being in this location. That's just my theory. I've already smoked these bees. Hopefully they're fairly pacified. And so we'll crack things apart here. There we go. So this first frame, they have just built out some comb on there, but not really storing anything up in there yet. So just adding some comb. The second frame they have really built out. It's almost like because this other one wasn't built out, they compensated for it on this other side. There we go. You can see bees are covering this. They have that comb really built out, but just like on the other end, I'm not seeing a whole lot of resources. So that's a little bit of concern because they're going to need that going into winter. So they will probably need to be fed, and that feeding may inspire some laying as well, because I'm not seeing a whole lot of brood on here either. So that may just be the state of things. They do have a little bit of cap brood on here. With only 5 frames in this hive, I would expect the middle 3 would likely be all brood with a little bit of honey at the top and some pollen, and then the outer 2 would be honey frames. As we can see, that outer one had no honey. That one had no honey. Lots of bees though. Some cap brood. Okay, so more cap brood here. Lots of bees, not really. So now they're moving aside a little bit. You can see some of that capped brood in there. There's a cluster of bees here at the bottom. I'm kind of watching to see if my queen is in there. Not seeing her yet. Also, like the other one, I am not seeing any young larvae or eggs on here. And no honey at the top. No honey at the top here. Bunch of bees on there. So they're working and cleaning out those cells. But not doing much else. Got a good population of bees in here. More capped brood on this side. But again, very little resources built up in here. So I'm thinking this is a learning experience for me, that my issue in my other colony may not have been so much an underperforming queen. It may have more to do with the fact the bees haven't been bringing in much in terms of resources, and it's likely these bees need to be fed because they are very low on any sort of food in here. I think maybe if we give them some food, it may inspire the queen to start laying, and I may put my other queen back into the other hive. So being late in the year, I may have to feed aggressively to help them get ready and get through winter. Let's look at this last frame. Yeah, really festooning on there. And on this end, there is just nothing in there. They've kind of built out the comb, not completely on this one, but see a few beetles getting around in there. Smash that beetle. But not much else going on. I'm just looking real quick. Yeah, it's always nice to see the queen, know that she's doing well. But, you know, again, the state of this colony is pretty much identical to the other, where I'm seeing capped brood, so later stages of the developing bees. Not seeing any young larvae, didn't see any eggs in there, but I think I'm changing my diagnosis. In the previous hive, when I saw that, I think I thought that I had an underperforming queen. Queen looked healthy, but she did not seem to be laying. Well, I think what's my problem instead is that the bees are just short on resources. The queen isn't going to lay if they're not bringing in nectar. And neither of these hives have good stores of nectar at all. So they need to be fed. They need to build up those resources And so I'm going to start feeding these colonies aggressively. I'm going to put the queen back into the other one because I don't think the problem is her. I think it's just a matter of resources. Now, under normal circumstances, I follow a natural beekeeping approach, and so I, normally wouldn't feed. But I have two colonies here that are kind of in an unnatural situation. This one was a split from my original mother colony, and I started out actually as a two-frame split. So they started out with very low resources. They've built up, become a pretty strong colony. You can see how many bees are in there. But as they built up, they had to build the frames out. I started this year with blank frames, just foundation, so they had to start from scratch and get that built out. They've done pretty well on what they've got, but in doing so, I think they've just used up what resources they had available. So I'm going to be feeding them now, get them into winter. My other colony was a swarm from a tree that fell. You saw the video, you saw a little bit of the background on that, but they also were a late season swarm. Trying to get them started in there, used up resources, building comb, and I think they're just out of resources and can't make up for it with what's available naturally. So we're going to feed them, get them into winter, get them as much nectar stored up as they can going into winter, and hopefully get them through winter so they can start next year on good footing. So I believe that's our status. Kind of changed approach going through, but we learn, we see the evidence, and make decisions based on what we see. And I think our problem is not the bees, it's just resources. So we'll get them some food and hopefully get them a jump start going towards next year. So I just added frame feeders to both of these colonies in this hive, and when I did that, it's obviously kicked off some robbing behavior. You can see how bees from other colonies are just fighting to get into these hives to get to that food. So it looks like I thought my other colonies were doing better in terms of resources. Apparently they are also feeling somewhat desperate. And I thought that those internal feeders would be somewhat safe, since they're they're not at the entrance of the hive, so they're not right there where the other bees can get to them. But apparently the smell of that food, that sugar, water, and honey food, is strong enough that it attracts them. So right now I have both of these hives kind of shut down. I've turned those entrance gates to the ventilation setting, so these bees can't get in. That also means the bees inside can't get out, but this kind of protects them for now. And once this frenzy kind of dies down, I'll go ahead and open those gates back up, but I'm not going to open them up all the way. I'll leave it kind of a crack so that these hives are able to defend themselves or have a smaller space that they have to defend. But so this is kind of unexpected. Like I said, I know this time of year the bees can be fairly desperate. I know that adding a feeder can cause robbing behavior, but I expected with those internal feeders it wouldn't be such a problem, but as you can see, it really kicked off a frenzy here. So like I said, these entrance gates are set to a ventilation setting right now, so the bees can't get in, but we'll give them a little while until they finally figure that out, and then open them back up. So just a little status there, and kind of a watchword, and also to me a kind of a lesson that I guess I'll need to go look at those other hives and possibly feed them as well, because looks like everybody is hungry. So that's all, just a quick update. Thanks for watching.